the headlines, GNAT reports it will reintroduce the Constitutional Amendment Constituent Assembly sitting bill in Parliament. By-elections date for the much-anticipated by-elections in Guadalcanal province officially declared for June 4th. And 8 provincial premiers and government officials appeared before BLC to share their views on the Special Economic Zones Bill 2024. Hello, you're watching SIBC's TV News Bulletin. I'm Sharon Nanau. The Government for National Unity and Transformation will reintroduce the Constitutional Amendment Constituent Assembly Seating Bill in Parliament. The bill in its previous form seeks to amend the provision on the date for the convening of the Constituent Assembly from 31st December 2024 to 31st December 2026. It was withdrawn in Parliament last year after it failed to secure the majority votes required to amend the Constitution. Speaking to the local media on Monday, Prime Minister Honourable Jeremiah Manele called on all members of Parliament to support the bill once it is brought to Parliament.
My government will bring the Constitutional Amendment Bill back to Parliament again, and I ask the MPs in the opposition and independent group to support this constitutional amendment. The government is reviewing the Bills and Legislation Committee report and the Constitutional Amendment Constitutional Assembly Sitting Bill 2024, number 5 of 2024, before finalizing the bill to be tabled in Parliament in 2025.
Prime Minister Manele said the Constitutional Amendment Constituent Assembly Seating Bill was not passed in Parliament due to members of the opposition non-support to the bill.
Ladies and gentlemen, the issue of federalism of state government is an important one for our country. GNAT is committed to address this through the Constituent Assembly process. At the last sitting of Parliament in December last year, the GNAT tabled the Constitution Amendment Constituent Assembly Act 2023 to allow the work of the Constituent Assembly to continue into 2025 and beyond. Unfortunately, members of the opposition opposed the amendment even after the government had agreed to their proposed amendments to the bill. It was very sad to see MPs from provinces that strongly advocated for a state government system boycotting Parliament to defeat the passage of this bill. The absence of members of Parliament during the second reading resulted in the bill being defeated on the floor of Parliament. Despite this, the government called for and convened a meeting of the Constituent Assembly, CA, on 30 December 2024, which was attended by all premiers and government MPs and the leader of opposition. All other opposition and independent MPs did not attend this Constituent Assembly meeting as well.
Still on the Constitution Amendment Bill, Prime Minister Manele announced with regards to the next steps to progress the Constituent Assembly work, the December meeting of the Constituent Assembly resolved the following deliverables for 2025. They are still waiting on the province premiers to formally submit to the Secretariat the names of their second representative to the Constituent Assembly to be gazetted before the next meeting of the Constituent Assembly.
With regards to the next steps to progress the Constituent Assembly work, the December meeting of the Constituent Assembly resolved the following deliverables for 2025. 1. Appointment and gazetting of the second representative from each province to the Constituent Assembly. All premiers must formally submit to the Secretariat the names of their second representative to the Constituent Assembly to be gazetted before the next meeting of the Constituent Assembly. We are still waiting for these names. I ask all premiers to please submit the names of your second delegate to the Constituent Assembly as soon as possible to be gazetted.
Prime Minister Manele added on the finalization of the rules of procedures for the Constituent Assembly, they are still awaiting feedback from all province premiers.
Finalization of the rules of procedures for the Constituent Assembly. The Secretariat has sent a draft rules of procedures to all premiers twice already this year. The first on the 22nd of February 2025 and again in the first week of March 2025. So far, we have not received any feedback from provincial premiers. Again, I ask all premiers to please review and send back to the Secretariat their comments on the draft policies or procedures for the Constituent Assembly. The approval of the rules of procedures is the most important output for the next meeting of the Constituent Assembly. Without an approved rules of procedures, the Constituent Assembly will not be able to function.
Now, the Governor-General, alongside the Minister for Provincial Government and Institutional Strengthening, has announced that by-elections will be held on June 4th for the vacant positions in Guadalcanal Province. Simon Tavake reports.
The Governor-General, with the Minister for Provincial Government and Institutional Strengthening, has officially declared the date for the much anticipated by-elections in the Guadalcanal Province. Voters in Paripa Ward in northeast Guadalcanal and the west Guadalcanal constituency will head to the polls on June 4th, following yesterday's announcement. The by-elections come after the passing of the respective Provincial Assembly member for Paripa Ward and the Member of Parliament for West Guadalcanal constituency earlier this year.
In exercise of the powers conferred upon me by Section 58, subsection 2 of the Electoral Act 2018, I, Sir David Tiva Kapu, Knight Grand Cross of Most Distinguished Order of St. Michael and St. George, Governor-General and Commander-in-Chief of Solomon Islands, do hereby appoint Wednesday, 4th June 2025 as the date for holding of the National Parliament by-election for West Guadalcanal Electoral Constituency, dated at Honiara this 8th day of April 2025.
I, Honorable Wayne Gamo, Minister for Provincial Government and Institutional Strengthening, acting on the advice of the Electoral Commission under Section 12, subsection 2 of the Provincial Assemblies and Honiara City Council Electoral Act 2023, fix Wednesday, 4th of June 2025 as the date for holding the Provincial Assembly by-election for Paripa Electoral Ward in the Guadalcanal Province.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive Officer of the Solomon Islands Electoral Commission, Jasper Highwood Anisi, confirmed to local media that preparations are now underway to ensure the successful delivery of both by-elections.
Last 2 weeks, we have a voter awareness program been covering West Guadalcanal constituency and also Paripa Ward. We've sent roughly about 5 teams around voter wards for doing voter education awareness. Voter awareness ward and constituency whereby election will happen on the 4th of June. And just to give you a statistics for this by-election for Northeast Guadalcanal Paripa Ward, you may get 7 fala polling station and 1 fala ward, which is the Paripa Ward, and we're expecting to have 37 polling officials for Wakalo there. For West Guadalcanal constituency, we have 20 polling stations, 3 fala ward, inside law constituency here, and we expect to recruit around 120 polling officials for conducting elections. We will also run pre-poll for all the election officials, because mostly all the election officials will be within the wards and the constituency whereby you be conducting by-election Lohem.
The Electoral Commission says it remains committed to ensuring a smooth and credible election process for both electorates. For SIBC TV, I am Simon Tawake.
Now, 8 provincial premiers and government officials appeared before the Bills and Legislation Committee yesterday to share their perspectives on the Special Economic Zones Bill 2024. The discussions highlighted concerns about its potential impact on local communities, with many stressing the importance of aligning the bill with the economic needs of their provinces. Simon Tavake with the details.
8 provincial premiers and government officials appeared before the Bills and Legislative Committee yesterday to share the views on the Special Economic Zones Bill 2024. They discussed about how the bill could affect the provinces and the country, with many stressing the importance of thinking about local needs and growing the economy. With most of the provincial premiers support the bill, most of them emphasized the need for the involvement of the provincial governments in the process of developing and the implementation of the bill.
We want more involvement of the provincial governments in the process of developing the special economic zones in the province's jurisdiction. We want more say in the development and investments in the province. That is because any bad decisions made will have a direct impact on the livelihood of our people. Land acquisitions for special economic zones must be properly done so that the provincial government and landowners are fully involved and are happy. If subsection 5 or division 2 of part 2 is meant to be a compulsory acquisition by the minister for land for the special economic zone, then we don't support it.
The Premier of Temotu Province, Honorable Stanley Tehiahua, highlighted the importance of including his province in the Special Economic Zone Bill, pointing out its rich history with early European explorers, which could greatly benefit the country's tourism industry.
Again, Mr. Chairman, in implementing this Economic Zone Bill, don't lose focus to Temotu. Mr. Chairman, not only that, the record of the history of many explorers was ended up in Temotu. Bishop Patson was killed in Nukapu Island. That was in Temotu. Killing of Bishop Patson paved the way for the Solomon Island to declare as a protected state. Not only that, Mr. Chairman, Medana was died in Santa Cruz. Not only that, Chairman, La Perouse hem they come to Lo Vanicoro, that hem connecting France. They belong La Perouse, you may not get proper accounts for justify him die, but him die Lo Temotu. So when you talk about the history of tourism, that will lead to tourism. Don't lose focus to Temotu.
Simon Tawake, SIBC TV.
Now, the National Hosting Authority, NHA, has denied claims of document falsification after facing pressure to release the 2023 Pacific Games audit reports. NHA Chairman Dr. Jimmy Rogers confirmed on Monday that all relevant documents and evidences are with the auditors. Eliza Kukutu with more.
The National Hosting Authority, NHA, denies allegations that it was manufacturing documents following pressure to release the 2023 Pacific Games audit reports. NHA Chairman and Secretary to the Prime Minister's Special Duties, Dr. Jimmy Rogers, told local media on Monday. He said all documents and evidence related to the 2023 Pacific Games are with the auditors.
Now, I think there was a press statement released earlier because Auditor General, I'm saying, is under pressure to release some information, of course the audit information as we tell them with you. And I think there were some connotations as a result of that one by some commentators that are going to say that NHA was manufacturing documents or destroying evidence of that. There is no truth in any of that. Every evidence is there, and the auditors have gone through those. We also have a special audit. So this is a general financial audit now that we'll be meeting about tomorrow. Yeah, and that's 2019 to 2021, and then from 22 to 23, and then 24, 25 closing. In addition, Auditor General have commissioned him to what we call them special audits, done by KPMG. So both audits are done by KPMG Fiji. The special audits will get to pick up particular procurements, and they do a deep dive on those. So one fella, you won't be surprised, is toilet paper. So there is a special audit on toilet papers. So basically they pick up on several, and I think more than 20 procurements, or get to pick him randomly, and then they assess those, and we go into all of those. The procurement, did we follow process, what in the tendering, all that kind of stuff there. So that has been, in a sense, almost completed. So probably the special audits will be completed before the financial audit for the full 5-year period here. Then there's a third audit which is conducted by Australia on the 100 million worker that provided to Pacific Games. Yeah. So that audit is almost complete. And that just looks specifically at Australia's contributions because they have to report their contributions back to the Parliament.
Dr. Rogers said they had hoped to have annual audits during the Games' 5-year preparations, however, it was not possible. He said they also anticipate to have the audit reports completed and tabled in Parliament.
So just Miguel and Fastine, we're meeting with the auditors and the Auditor General tomorrow for look audit period 2019 to 2021. Yeah, so hopefully after tomorrow's meeting, then BioGet to provide a management letter and the report for the period. But maybe for clarifying a little bit no more, the Pacific Games from 2019 to 2023, and then the closing audit for 24-25. So there are two different sets of audits. Now for 2019 to 2023, we had hoped to have annual audits. But because the annual audits were not completed, and that's a story between Auditor General's office and NHA, so it's not just NHA on that one. We are having to do an audit of the full period at one go, which is a little bit more complex. And this is why Auditor General's office pull them now audits. So the first part we will close off on is 2019 to 2021. So hopefully that will be very soon following tomorrow's meeting. Then most of the work for 2022-23, which is the big one, has already been done too. So we are anticipating that the timing of the auditors and Auditor General's office might agree on timing to conclude that one. Then after that one is concluded, we'll have a closing audit, which is for 24 and 25. Once all that is done, then we will prepare a full report supported by the audit chair, then by President and Minister, and Minister by Deputy in Parliament. So that's the process we will follow, which is guided by the Auditor General's office.
SIBC News understands that the public has been calling for the completion of the 2023 Pacific Games audit reports and its publication. For SIBC TV, I'm Eliza Kukutu.
The much-awaited Mineral Resource Bill 2023 is expected to be tabled in Parliament later this year. Simon Tavake reports.
The much-awaited Mineral Resources Bill 2023 is expected to be tabled in Parliament later this month. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Mines and Energy, Honourable Bradley Tovosia, confirmed this during a press conference held recently. He said the document is currently being printed and should be ready by this week. Honourable Tovosia adds, the new bill will give more power to resource owners, ensuring they have a greater say in how their land and resources are managed.
The money bills is now on printing, and I'm sure ready hopefully today, tomorrow. Then it will ended up in Parliament. Once it's signed, then it will go about Parliament. This bill for Yumi people here to come. This bill, I believe, it contained a lot of issues that Yumi faced with until now. This bill militarily handle Yumi people of this nation who immune the resources here. So I guess really it's a more new bill that give him more power or authorizations. And me should say that this bill belongs to Yumi people of this nation.
SIBC News understands the proposed Mineral Resources Bill 2023 aims to modernize the regulatory framework for mining activities in the country. Simon Tavake, SIBC TV.
Now Parliament will resume its meeting on April 24th, 2025. Prime Minister Jeremiah Manele told local media they hope to pass the Special Economic Zone Bill and the Mineral Resources Bill during the April and May meeting. He said government anticipate calling Parliament to sit on 3 occasions this year. The meeting will begin with a speech from the throne from the Governor-General, Sir David Tivakapu.
Fellow Somalilanders, I have advised the clerk to National Parliament to issue notice to all members of Parliament to attend the 3rd meeting of the 12th Parliament on the 24th of April 2025. This government intends to table 2 important bills in this meeting: the Special Economic Zone Bill and the Mineral Resources Bill. It is hoped that Parliament will pass these 2 bills during the April and May meeting. In terms of speech from the throne, I have also written to His Excellency, the Governor-General, inviting him to deliver his speech from the throne to Parliament. Parliament is expected to sit for the whole month of May, after which Parliament will be adjourned. I anticipate calling Parliament to sit on 3 occasions in 2025. The first meeting, or the first sitting, being from 24th April 2025, the second one in July, August, and the 3rd one in October, November, and December. His Excellency will outline the legislative business for these sittings when he addresses Parliament.
Now, SIEC clarifies its $3.5 million budget for the upcoming Guadalcanal by-elections. Eliza Kukutu with the details.
The Solomon Islands Electoral Commission, SIEC, defends its $3.5 million budget for the upcoming Guadalcanal by-elections. SIEC CEO Jasper Haywood Anise told local media that the current budget caters to cover all necessary costs related to the by-election. He said the budget baseline for last year's election was used for this year's by-election.
So when we want to look at this by-election, we use the baseline from last election, which is 2024, and from that one we work. So the budget that we've announced is just an estimated budget, and like I said earlier on, we have to be prepared to factor all costs. We don't want to go halfway in between conducting the election and our preparation and programs, and then we run out of funds. So often people think that the polling day is the only time that we should incur cost. Unfortunately, that's not the case for elections. We started 2 weeks ago sending out awareness team, and you can imagine the logistics around Babanakira area coming to Tangarare and then Savulai Ward. Those are the logistic costs that we covered, and people that are doing those covering awareness and all these things. And then
Mr. Anisi added that the budget included the contingency plan to have the ballot box brought in by chopper should the need arises.
We will recruit around 155 people, so that is also a cost. We need to pay them allowance, we need to feed them, we need to accommodate them as we run the election. So those are the things. And then the fuel price is quite expensive, and most of our movement in terms of logistics depends on fuel and all this. And as we did an assessment when our awareness team went to Kolosulu to the Paripa Ward, we've seen that if the weather is continuing like this, the roads might deteriorate. And in order to pull ballot papers to Kolosulu or those places, we need to charter job helicopters. So that's why we factor these kinds of costs. And the operational cost for running elections is not cheap.
For SIBC TV, I'm Eliza Kukutu.
The Family Support Centre has called on the government to ensure there are policy frameworks developed for the inclusion of women in decision-making on development activities. Eliza Kukutu reports.
The Family Support Centre has called on the government to ensure there are policy frameworks developed for the inclusion of women in decision-making on development activities. Centre Manager Lorio Sisiolo said the country's national minerals policy lacks focus on the social and economic implications on mining for women. Sisiolo was speaking at the Pacific Technical Cooperation session of the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW, currently held in Suva, Fiji.
There is a minimal or no participation of women in discussions and decision-making on land and resources. Large commercial activities, including logging and mining, are predominantly conducted on customary land, and women are mostly excluded from key decision and benefit sharing. The National Minerals Policy 2017 to 2021 aims to balance the interests of all stakeholders, but it lacks focus on the social, economic, and safety implications of mining for women. Therefore, we call on the government of Solomon Islands to ensure that there is legislative and policy frameworks that make the inclusion of women mandatory for decision-making and benefit sharing for large development and commercial activities. Women must be consulted on this.
She adds gender-sensitive safeguards must be developed across all development projects.
Develop gender-sensitive safeguards to be integrated across all development projects and large commercial activities, including mining and logging processes and agreements.
A team from the government, led by the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Women, Dr. Cedric Alpendava, and NGOs advocating for women's rights in the country are attending this important meeting. This is also the first time that a CEDAW committee session is held in the Pacific. Eliza Kukutu for SIBC TV.
And that's news. Follow us on sibconline.com.sb and our SIBC News Facebook page for more of our latest stories. Thanks for watching.